Most movies disappear because audiences forget them. These didn't. Some were locked in vaults by the companies that created them. Some were hunted down and destroyed by governments. Others were kept from the world so completely that almost no one knows they ever existed. Not because they failed, but because someone, a studio executive, a politician, or a military general, decided that future generations should never see them. Today, we're uncovering 10 forgotten movies they tried to erase forever. For the past 2 years, I've been researching forgotten, banned, and censored films from around the world. I'm Alex. Welcome to Dim Screen. These aren't just forgotten movies. They're films that powerful people spent decades keeping away from audiences. Some survived. Others are still fragmented. All of them were marked for erasure. Let's step into the archive and uncover the first film they hoped history would forget. 10. Song of the Such 1946. In 2020, Disney made a quiet but powerful corporate decision that shocked many film lovers. They officially declared that Song of the South would never be available on Disney or any official platform. Released in 1946, this unique animated live-action hybrid followed a young white girl on a southern plantation who finds comfort and wisdom through the folktales told by an enslaved man named Uncle Remus. For decades, the film was regularly re-released, earned Academy Awards, and became a beloved part of many childhoods. However, by the 1980s, changing cultural awareness led audiences to view it as a romanticized and deeply problematic portrayal of slavery that ignored historical brutality. Instead of engaging with the criticism, Disney chose a strategy of complete disappearance. No theatrical re-releases after 1986, no home video releases in later decades, and ultimately, no streaming access at all. Archive prints still exist, but are tightly controlled and shown only to select historians. This created real challenges for film scholars and educators who want to study its cultural impact. Song of the South represents a modern form of suppression where corporate control replaces traditional government censorship. 9. Battleship Potemkin, 1925. Sergei Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin didn't just face censorship. It genuinely frightened governments around the globe. Released in 1925, this Soviet silent film used revolutionary montage editing to portray a 1905 naval mutiny and the horrifying Odessa Steppes massacre. The rapid cuts created an emotional intensity that made viewers feel the chaos and anger of rebellion. France banned it shortly after release, destroyed copies, and kept it off screens for years. The United States treated it as communist propaganda, and some states worried it could encourage real mutinies among sailors. Nazi Germany severely censored violent scenes and restricted its armed forces from viewing it. Different countries produced heavily edited versions, which left the film badly fragmented for decades. Even today's careful restorations cannot recover every single lost frame. Battleship Potemkin proved its power by forcing authorities to treat cinema as a genuine political weapon rather than mere entertainment. 8. The Battle of Algiers, 1966. Illo Pontecorvo created a film so realistic that it blurred the line between fiction and documentary. The Battle of Algiers looks like raw news footage from the Algerian War of Independence. It presents both French soldiers and Algerian revolutionaries as complex human beings rather than simple heroes or villains. French authorities banned it immediately upon release, fearing it would inspire anti-colonial uprisings across their empire. At the same time, the American Pentagon secretly studied the film to analyze revolutionary tactics and urban warfare strategies. For many years, it remained difficult to see outside of film festivals and universities. When wider restored versions finally became available, audiences were struck by its moral complexity and strategic depth. The Battle of Algiers continues to serve as a masterclass in political cinema that both governments feared and military experts learned from. 7. Devils, 1971. Ken Russell's The Devils was so provocative that it triggered coordinated international backlash. This 1971 film dramatizes real historical events involving religious hysteria, sexual repression, and institutional abuse in 17th century France. Its explicit scenes of possession and corruption caused outrage from the Catholic Church and conservative groups. Britain, Italy, and France each demanded heavy cuts to different sequences, resulting in dozens of fragmented versions. For decades, no complete print existed as negatives were damaged and copies destroyed. A long and difficult restoration process eventually recovered much of the lost material. The Devils remains a fierce artistic attack on power structures that tried desperately to silence its challenging ideas through censorship. 6. A Clockwork Orange 1971. Stanley Kubrick made the rare choice to suppress his own film in its home country. After A Clockwork Orange caused intense moral panic and copycat violence debates in Britain, Kubrick personally asked cinemas to stop screening it. For 20 long years, from 1973 to 1999, the film was voluntarily unavailable in the UK. The story follows the violent young man Alex and forces viewers into uncomfortable ethical territory about free will, violence, and rehabilitation. Kubrick's personal decision added another complex layer to the film's already controversial legacy. When the creator himself chooses withdrawal, the story of suppression becomes inseparable from the work itself. A Clockwork Orange continues to spark strong debate about society and human nature. 5. The Dreet Dictator 1940. Charlie Chaplin took a bold stand at one of history's most dangerous moments. While America was still largely isolationist, he made The Great Dictator and openly mocked Adolf Hitler on screen. Chaplin played dual roles as a kind Jewish barber and a ridiculous fascist dictator, using slapstick comedy to expose the emptiness of tyranny. Nazi Germany banned the film immediately across all occupied territories. After World War II, the film's powerful final monologue about humanity and freedom made some American officials uneasy during the early Cold War. Chaplin himself faced political persecution and was eventually forced into exile. Despite the personal and professional risks, The Great Dictator stands as one of cinema's most courageous anti-fascist works. 4. Come and See 1985. Elem Klimov's Come and See is one of the most psychologically devastating war films ever made. It follows a young Belarusian boy whose childhood is completely destroyed by the brutal realities of World War II. We watch his face and spirit visibly transform through unimaginable trauma as the film progresses. Soviet authorities disliked its grim honesty and lack of heroic propaganda. However, the strongest resistance came from audiences who often walked out of theaters because the emotional impact was simply too overwhelming. The film refuses any romantic notions of war and forces viewers to confront its true human cost. Only in recent years has it found a wider international audience willing to face its unflinching power. 3. Cannibal Holocaust 1980. Ruggero Deodato's Cannibal Holocaust crossed so many lines that reality and fiction became dangerously blurred. The film's raw found footage style was so convincing that Italian authorities arrested the director on murder charges. Deodato had to prove in court that his lead actress was still alive. Real animal deaths during production added fuel to the massive controversy. Multiple governments responded with heavy censorship, removing different sections in each country. Even today, a truly complete uncut version remains extremely difficult to find. The film pioneered the found footage horror genre while becoming one of the most infamous and divisive movies in cinema history. 2. The Last House Huan The Left 1972. Wes Craven's debut feature, The Last House on the Left, was treated like actual criminal contraband by authorities. Its unrelenting and realistic depiction of violence, revenge, and trauma led to prosecutions under obscenity laws in many countries. In Britain and parts of Europe, simply owning or distributing the film could result in serious legal trouble. For decades, the movie survived mainly through underground bootleg copies and secret festival screenings. The extreme official reaction only strengthened its reputation as a groundbreaking and deeply disturbing landmark in horror cinema. The Last House on the Left helped push the boundaries of what modern horror could show and explore. 1. The Conformist 1970. Bernardo Bertolucci's The Conformist suffered perhaps the most extensive fragmentation of any major film. The story of a man who embraces fascism partly to hide his homosexuality received 47 different censored cuts across various countries. Religious authorities and political powers demanded changes almost everywhere it was screened. Entire important sequences disappeared in different national versions, leaving the original artistic vision badly damaged. Decades of systematic international suppression caused permanent losses that even careful restoration efforts have not been able to fully repair. The Conformist is both a stunning visual masterpiece and a tragic symbol of how thoroughly cinema can be erased when it challenges power too directly. These movies weren't forgotten because they failed. Most disappeared because powerful people understood exactly what cinema could do. Some films were recovered and restored. Others remained fragmented forever. History doesn't always preserve truth. Sometimes it actively erases it. That's why remembering these films, even in fragments, still matters. If you enjoy uncovering cinema's hidden history, subscribe to Dim Screen. The archive never stops holding secrets. We just have to keep looking.